Now look, death is a very touchy subject, and for that reason, I've decided to steer clear of any recent deaths. We're only going to be talking about deaths that are at least about 100 years ago. Because yeah, while researching this, the closer I got to the modern day, the more harrowing the stories got. So let's dive into the comforting mists of time that just seems to make everything better and objectively more funny. Come along and see Milo of Croton was a big strong boy, and boy did he know it. Born on the Greek colony of Croton in about the 6th century BC. Since he knew he was strong, he liked to show off with feats of strength. He would hold out his arm and challenge someone to try and bend his pinky finger. Or he tried to rip this tree stump in half with his bare hands. Yeah, okay. No, don't help me. Okay, I'm stuck. Could someone get me some oil or... Guys? That's right. While showing off, our big boy got his hand stuck in a tree stump and was eaten by wolves. Or, depending on the tale you read, a lion. I don't want you to think that old Milo was all brawn and no brains, however. He was a follower of our next entry, none other than Pythagoras. Pythagoras, of course, is famous for not having come up with the Pythagorean theorem. Despite the fact that we for some reason named it after him, he didn't come up with it. It was being used 1,000 years before his birth in Egypt, which makes sense with the whole pyramid fixation. So, not only did Pythagoras not come up with the theorem that we've accredited to him, he was also kind of a cult leader, and his life would really need a whole video on its own. But we're not here to talk about his life, we're here to talk about his death. And like much of his story, it is shrouded in myth and hearsay. The story goes that his political opponents attacked the building where Pythagoras and his followers were meeting. In the attack, they set the building on fire. Now, Pythagoras' followers were so devout that they lay across the burning embers and allowed him to walk over their backs to safety. Pythagoras fled, and his quarries pursued him. He had almost slipped free of their clutches when he came to a field full of beans. Unfortunately, Pythagoras believed that beans were ritually unclean, so he refused to touch them. So he just kind of stood there and waited while his murderous opponents tracked him down and killed him, all because of beans. Aeschylus was a Greek playwright who kind of started that whole Greek tragedy thing. Some of the stories say that Aeschylus was working outside the city walls to avoid a prophecy that said one day he would be killed by a falling house. And so Aeschylus sat, working on a new script, when an eagle flying far above mistook his shiny, beautiful bald head for a rock and dropped the tortoise it was carrying, hoping to smash the shell and get to the good tortoise bits inside. Unfortunately, it also smashed Aeschylus. Let's jump forward a couple of hundred years to Emperor Basil I of the Byzantine Empire. One day, he was out on a hunting trip when a strange accident occurred. He somehow managed to get his belt tangled in the antlers of a deer and was dragged for 26 kilometers or 16 miles through the woods. He only managed to get free when an attendant managed to cut his belt. He fell ill and died shortly after from a fever he contracted while being dragged through the woods. Before his death, however, he had one last act for the attendant who managed to cut him free. He had him killed because he thought he was plotting to assassinate him. John the Blind, King of Poland, Bohemia, and Count of Luxembourg, stands watching a battle. I say watching because he is, as his name suggests, blind. However, he knows that somewhere in that chaos is his son. Where is the Lord Charles, my son? Sir, we cannot tell. Sirs, ye be my men, my companions and friends in this journey. I require you to bring me so forward that I may strike one with my sword. What? You want us to lead me into battle so I can join in? Yes. Do you think that's wise, sir? With your condition. I'm sorry, did I? Did you what, sir? Did I ask for your opinion, Jean? No, sir. John's attendants tied their horses to his so they didn't lose them in the fray, and charged in. The next day, John and his men were found, their horses still tied together. Why are you dodging, gentlemen? If you dodge like that for a single bullet, wait until they open fire along the whole line. Really, come along now. They couldn't hit an elephant at this distance. And just like that, John Sedgwick enters as one of the contenders for best last words ever uttered. Only possibly beaten by Einstein, but he spoke his last words to a nurse that didn't speak German, so we'll never know. And coming into the final stretch, it's Sweet Kiss out front. Sweet Kiss holding on, and yes, she's done it! Her jockey, of course, another newcomer, Frank Hayes, normally a horse trainer, will be absolutely thrilled with that result. Here come the officials to congratulate him, and the 22-year-old Hayes died mid-race, most likely from a heart attack caused by the extreme weight loss he underwent to meet the race's requirements. Sweet Kiss, unconcerned for her jockey's fate, continued on and won the race, being the only instance where a jockey has won a race after his death. Sweet Kiss never raced again and got the nickname Sweet Kiss of Death for the rest of her life. Bobby Leach climbed into his barrel. His goal is to be the first person to ever... the second person to ever go over the fall, with Annie Taylor, a school teacher, achieving her goal a decade earlier. Wow, what a cool person. Who are we talking about? Oh yeah, Bobby. Whoops, there he goes. After the fall, they opened up the barrel to find that Bobby, well, he was fine. When I say fine, he had 2 broken kneecaps and a broken jaw, but apart from that, he was as healthy as could be. In his 60s, he moved closer to Niagara Falls. While there, he wanted to be one of the people to swim the Whirlpool Rapids. He was sucked under. Everything was black and he could feel himself being bashed against rocks. He feels his consciousness start to fade. He's pulled out of the water by William Red Hill Sr., a daredevil himself. Bobby emerged, battered, bruised, but apart from that, completely fine. After his years of death-defying stunts, Bobby decided, that's enough, I'm good. 1926, he went on a publicity tour to New Zealand. While there, he slips on an orange peel, breaks his ankle, which then gets infected, gangrenous, and then he dies 2 months later. So, what can we learn from these deaths? I mean, honestly, probably just don't take yourself too seriously. Whether you're an Olympian, philosopher, military man, or daredevil, death makes a fool of us all.